Hello and welcome to Plantinap's Low-Code Campfire for Friday, November 21st, 2025. My name is Patrick Anderson, and I'll be your host for today and standing in for Dale Warner. Uh, the Low-Code Campfire is a community gathering of people who use Plantinap, and we come together to share ideas, things that we've worked on and had success with, and also to get help from the community on things that we're working on. So we always encourage participants to bring something to show us or be ready to ask a question. All of the low-code campfires, as is this one, are recorded and posted on YouTube to always be up to date on the releases of Campfire and the Low-Code Cafe. Subscribe to our channel at youtube.com/plantinap or scan this QR code. We have a very simple agenda. We'll start with some introductions and then go into Around the Campfire with a first call. And we'll take a look at contributions to the Campfire website, feature requests on the community, and then if we get to it, some dark corners and ghost stories. And then we adjourn the meeting and stop the recording and have a little bit of additional social time afterwards if you want to stay for that. So please jump in and participate. If you want to submit questions ahead of time, you can do so by sending an email to support@plantinap.com. And just a programming note about Campfire, there will be no Campfire gathering on November 28th, as most people have that day off, and we do as well. We'll resume on December 5th, and there will be no Campfire gathering on December 26th as well. So with all that out of the way, I'll move on to the introductions and say good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Glad to see some of you here. Hopefully we'll have some lively discussions. So I'll move right along and into the first call and see if anybody has something they want to bring to the table right away.
I had mentioned a couple of, maybe three campfires ago about a project where I have to bring in a whole bunch of data, many rows, 200,000 rows of information. And so what we ended up implementing is FTP, copied the file in, and then a number of PowerShells that uh, pulled the file in, turned it into database records, uh, and then another PowerShell that went through and did some other tabulations and built some other records. So we did it that
Mm-hmm.
way. And the first pass of the PowerShell, the algorithm that we came up with, took 4 hours to run the 200,000 records.
Wow.
We uh, My intern and I, as Dale usually says, came up with that. And then I thought of a different way and suggested it to my intern, and it rewrote the PowerShell. And now we're down to 15 minutes. So that was
Oh, good.
quite a benefit. So we do have that. And now the problem, of course, with FTP is that I don't have a mechanism for that to be automatic. The other company um, doesn't have a way to automatically send an FTP to me, and so right now they're doing it manually. And what we're going to do is an API that will where he'll send some number of records. So we still have to figure out just how many records will fit in an API call. And
Hmm.
I still don't know what that is. I guess it's just going to be experimentation. We're going to try a large number and see if it breaks, and keep trying until we get a number that's reasonable. And then he'll have to set up a loop where he does it that many times to get all 200,000 records in. And once all of those are in, my plan is to um, once I get those in, instead of going and changing my algorithm, I'm going to basically just turn it into one large CSV file as
Hmm.
these items come in, and then just run the algorithm I already have.
Oh, okay.
So it
Interesting.
will
Yeah.
be replacing just the FTP component of it and let the rest of it run the way it is. One question I did have though, can you string PowerShells one after the other in a workflow? Is there any issues with doing that?
I can't say that I've tried it, but I wouldn't see uh I wouldn't offhand see a reason why you couldn't do that.
It's
Um,
going to
but
stop. I mean, it's not. I'm not branching it so that they're running concurrently. They're one after another in a flow. Um,
mhm,
and the outputs, there is no output, frankly. It's I've got confused as to how exactly the output on PowerShell works, but so the output actually is log files. So I'll be able to debug things if something goes south with
mhm,
those with log files, but it would just go from one to the next. And as long as it finishes, the PowerShell finishes, and then jumps to the next PowerShell, that would be great. I could set it up as an automation running at night every,
mhm,
which is the hope is that it's set up that way. The alternative, I guess, is that when he's finished with his last copying of a file to me or records to me, then he could call an API that basically says, "Okay, I'm done now," and that could be the trigger to do the workflow, so that it doesn't have to be a timed automation. It would be um, instead of hoping that he's done at 2 in the morning or whatever, 3 in the morning, it would be when he's done. It would be um, him saying that it's done, so that
yeah.
then I could run the PowerShell on it.
So I'm just curious. I'm just thinking out loud here. It sounds like that the end goal will be that they'll call an API on your end that pushes data into your system, and then you're going to be with that API processing the data into your database and then exporting it to a CSV and pulling it back into the database. Am I thinking that through all the way, or?
The replacement of the FTP part that we're
Yeah.
doing, starting to do now. I mean, right now, all of the the algorithm that we created is based on starting it off with an FTP file with all these records in it, and
Mhm.
then turning that into the data table. Ultimately, the idea is that we want to show voter records to the public if they come to the website. And
Mhm.
so that what they're doing is their internal system is sending me a file with all of the voter information, and then I
Right.
turn it into a database so that it then can be displayed. And there's so many different changes. They don't want to try to figure out what records change and just send me those records, which would be nice. They just
Yeah.
want to give me their whole database every night. And
Mhm.
so that's the mechanism we're using is to do it that way. So the FTP change is to give them an API where they can give me so many records at a time. I will build up. My plan is to just build up a series of files. So every time he sends
Mhm.
a new API call, I would take what records he gave me and drop that into a CSV file. And then
Okay.
when he's
Mhm.
all done, then what I do is I combine those files into one big CSV file and then start my process that I already
Mhm.
have written.
I mean, I understand that if you're starting out with it by FTP, you don't it's easier to not change that process. But I think if I was, but I don't know. Others can comment, but I think if I was pulling data, if I was receiving data by an API, I'd really want to just take it directly into the database instead and take out the step putting into a file. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
that's reworking stuff, I guess. But
right, but it's my intern doing all the work, so
yeah.
maybe I do just that is say, okay, let's build some of the records, and
Mhm.
that initial process of taking the FTP and converting it to records could be rewritten so that I put in so many records at a time, and then he could still call me at the end saying, okay, that's the last batch, we're done now, and then the next set of processes that do more machinations on the data that could run after that. So I guess I could change that one process.
Yeah, it's worth consideration, I think. Do others have any comments on that?
So with the to the multiple PowerShell script question, yes, I do that in and I have a scenario where I receive files in a directory. There's multiple files, and I have a recursive PowerShell that's processing them. So, and there's no problem with recalling the PowerShell over and over again for each of the files in there.
Fantastic.
But I agree. If you got an API, why go through the trouble of putting it to a CSV? I have some other applications where I load that into a import data table and then just write that out and then go process that import table, when everything's done.
Got it.
Anybody else have any other ideas or thoughts on that? Well, yeah, keep reporting back to us. It's exciting to hear about the this big data. And I'm sorry they're not willing to give you update records instead of just
Yeah, exactly.
a daily dump. That's
right.
unfortunate. But
one other thing I do, Don, I have a similar thing. Is when I get those records in, I put a checksum on it, and I store the key and the checksum. And when I get the next night's records in, I just compare the checksum and go, oh, this one changed, rather than field by field.
Oh, okay. I have to think on that a little bit and see if that I could just pull in these rows and then decide, compare with what I've got. I'm pretty positive that there will be there may be one record that changes out of 200,000 or two records that change out of 200,000. So when I get all of the data, I know I'm going to have to run the process. There'll be a new voter registered or something, or someone will move, or there'll be somebody that's left. That's what they've been telling me. That's how it kind of operates. So you're right. It may very well be that that from one day to the next, there may be no change. So that would be a good idea, especially if it continued to run for 4 hours a night, maybe just not bother doing it if nothing's changed. But something's always going to change. So I'll probably just run it anyway.
okay, any other ideas on that? Well, keep us updated, Don.
Oh, will do.
All right. Anybody else have another first call, something they want to discuss? And don't forget, it doesn't have to just be getting help. You can also talk about things that worked out well or that you had success with.
Hey, Patrick. Jerry here. How are you?
Hey, Jerry, good.
Good. Not a problem. Question. I watched Dale's Wednesday show about the 1.28
Mhm.
upgrades and features and things that are happening. And as I was trudging through that and taking notes, he said in 128 our SQL query action will be clever enough to use the begin, try, trans, begin and end, so we can do rollbacks.
Right, he did say that.
New.
That'll have they'll wrap it in a transaction. Yep.
Yes. Okay. I do my own transactions, meaning I do that already in some of
Mhm.
my heavier, smarter updates and inserts and things like that.
Right.
Do you think we'll conflict right there, or can I just
I
keep my code the
I
same?
mean, I'm not aware that you can't nest a transaction. So um I, I I feel like maybe I've done it before, but I'm not certain about that. Does anybody on the call know? Has anybody ever tried? Ben, you unmuted yourself.
Well, I was just gonna say we discussed this last week and didn't he
Oh,
say
sorry,
that
I wasn't there.
they I believe what he told us was that they're gonna have a checkbox to ignore
Yeah,
the
he did say
transactions.
that. Yep, you're right. He did say
So
that.
you can turn that off if you're doing your own
Hmm.
transactions.
True.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
forgot
Okay.
that.
Yeah, sorry I
Thanks,
missed
Ben.
that.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, that's it for me. I'm just gonna listen.
I'm curious about that though. Does anybody know? I just don't know offhand. Can you nest a transaction within a transaction?
I just don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Oh well. So anyway, anybody else have anything they want to bring to the group?
Hi, this is Mark.
Yeah, hi, Mark.
So this might be a simple question. I hope so. Um, on a drop down on a form, I would like to influence the height to which it drops open because the last item is a little bit cut off. And I need to scroll then to see just the bottom of the last item. I've noticed this happening on a lot of forms, maybe all of them since the conversion to version 5 of Bootstrap, but I'm not sure if that was the cause. But has anyone else noticed this or tried to influence that?
I have noticed it, and I thought that it had been fixed at some point, but I could certainly be incorrect about that. I actually didn't prep my site ahead of time. Should have done that. Password manager's not unlocked either. So just bear with me a second. Have others noticed that? I feel like that that I've seen that and I thought that it had been fixed, but could be wrong there.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm on the latest Phantom app. I suppose it's a possibility it's my theme. I haven't tested that.
Yeah, so you're not doing it within the obviously the page builder planting up theme.
No.
Let's see if I can just find a existing form here. See what this one does here. I'll just add a drop down to this field here. Nope, that's not good. I haven't been on the site for a little bit, and it looks like it has a problem. So you know what?
I just changed my page to a Plantain app theme, and it's doing the same thing.
It is okay. So yeah, I've noticed that same thing. Does it happen with both drop downs and the I wish I could get into some form settings here. How about if I edit the page and
What's left? Checkbox list. Auto.
I really have some serious issues going on that site there, so I'm not going to be able to use that. So
Drop down with autocomplete. It happens with drop down with autocomplete still.
it does. Okay. Yep.
Obviously, this is not a earth-shattering issue, not nearly as important as importing hundreds of thousands of records. It's just an annoyance.
Has anybody else found a CSS fix for that, or have any ideas?
So it appears to me, but I can't be sure. It looks like the height is being set probably in JavaScript, or some automatic method is setting the height because it tries to respond to how many records are in there. It's just not quite tall enough for the last item.
Yeah, I think I I had done something and just, opened inspector and selected an element and then deleted it in the inspector so I could see better. But I didn't actually force CSS on the page, just in my view. Had been doing that. I can't tell you what it was though.
So you deleted an element. What were you doing? Testing to see if the height responded or what?
No, just so it affected the rest of the page so I could see it. I
We
can
might
try
be
to work
talking
out
about
what
two
I was
different
doing.
things. I'm talking about a drop down, and when you click it and it drops open, you can't see the last item. I only have 3 items, and the third one is a little bit cut off.
Well, it's oddly not happening with this one, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe I need to have another one.
Interesting. I've been playing over here too while we're talking. I changed the theme of the page, and it had no effect.
Mm-hmm.
While that was changed, I changed the control to a autocomplete drop down, and it had no effect. It was still imperfect. Then I went and changed it back to a drop down, and the last item is in full view. It is fixed. And I put the
Well, that is
regular theme
fascinating.
back, and it's still
Huh.
fixed. So I don't understand that. But I have quite a few forms that show this way.
So I did it to an autocomplete, and it actually looks nicer with the autocomplete than it did before.
Eh, Well, I think I'm going to let this issue bake for a little while. We can
I
move on to
know,
something else, and I'm going to play
yeah,
with it.
and just to clarify, I know the issue you're talking about. I've seen it. So yeah, and I think that we've had other confirmations of that. I just thought that it had been fixed at some point. Is your form an older form, the one that you're working on? Has it been around a while?
No, no. I started it
It's
2 days ago.
okay. So I don't know, because that is weird. Because I've definitely seen the issue before, but I thought that it had been fixed, and I can't even begin to explain why it would be that changing it to a drop down and then back to an autocomplete would it
Yeah,
would have
it looks
would
nice now, but that is curious, and obviously there's some nuance there
yeah.
somewhere. I wasn't making it up. I saw it for sure. So the other item that I came here with was an unexplained ghost story, and I don't know what was going on, but I was working on a workflow just yesterday, and I was tweaking it. I was opening it up, I was changing something, I was saving and testing, and there was in the output section of the workflow a duplicate. There was something with the very same name. And so I deleted one of them because I didn't need that. And then I saved it. And then what was interesting was every time I went to save that workflow again, as I tweaked it, I would save, tweak, save. I had to re-delete that same duplicated output. It was there every time I tried to save, and I
Hmm.
deleted it every time I saved it. So I logged that as in, I'm not going to let this slow me down. I got to get this done. So I just deleted and saved. Has anyone else seen something like that? I don't
So
understand why I was doing that, but
are you saying that you had this, you had like values that were exactly the same as the name?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
And there were two of them. I had added it somehow.
And you were allowed to, so somehow you were able to add it.
Somehow, yes, they were definitely there.
Hmm.
I'm not exactly certain that I was the one who added the duplicate, but it was there.
Hmm.
And it didn't want to go away. I tried popping over into the legacy editor, and it didn't really change the behavior. It was the same.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, I wonder if clipboard. Nope, that's doing. I was just wondering if being in the legacy builder would you know, if that was how I could get a duplicated name parameter name in there, but it's not letting
Well,
me.
you know, the workflow actually existed for some time, possibly before the latest upgrade or
I
even
think
one
it's
before.
easily possible that at some point in the past we weren't doing a you know validation on this for unique
I think that's
names.
possible. I
Yeah.
think I've had duplicates in there before in the past,
Hmm.
not on purpose.
Yeah. But that's interesting. So you said you deleted it, but it kept on coming back. Were you finally able to get rid of it, or is it still there?
It did stop doing that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what caused why it
I would
fixed.
say the only thing I can think of is that maybe a clearing of the cache might have fixed it. Uh, because I think that I don't know. I can't remember for sure. But if this was something that was allowed in the past, they probably put a check in there to make sure that that deleting it doesn't delete both of them. You know what I mean? Because if they're both called that name,
Hmm.
you know,
Hmm.
and I'm just thinking that maybe there's a possibility that cache might have been kept on putting the duplicate back, but if you cleared cache, maybe and since then your cache is has been cleared, and that's why it went away. That's
You know, I might collaborate on that because I'm remembering now. I stopped working on it, went to lunch, came back, and I noticed that some of the colors that I had been pushing through on the screen changed when I came back. And at the same time as that changed, I was wondering why are my colors different? I noticed that this stopped happening with the duplicate output, and I think maybe that the cache cleared while I was gone or on a timer or something.
I think that's entirely
I think it was a
possible.
cache.
Yeah. Um, the thing that I'm glad it didn't do, which is good, is that if you deleted it, it didn't delete both. So that would have been bad if it had deleted both, parameters.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have recovered from that, but I mean, it wouldn't have been convenient if that had happened.
No, it wouldn't have been, but
Yeah.
yeah. Could have fixed it right away if it
Right.
allowed me. All right. Thanks,
Thanks.
Patrick.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's interesting. Anybody else have anything? Let me go back and see what else Dale had planned for us here. So let's see. Did we talk about this? Oh, I don't think we did, but I'll go ahead and open this up. So context tokens could be created with names that have spaces in them, and that is something that is going to eventually not be supported. Does it say in future versions? So it doesn't say specifically that in 128 they're going to uh, change this, but I think it's certainly something to be aware of. I think that probably everybody on this call is used to creating tokens with without spaces in them, but it's just something to be aware of. And for people watching this in the future, I'm just going to clarify that we're talking about context tokens, not system tokens. So context tokens are those that you create within the context of a form, or on as you're processing data in a form. So that's specifically what we're talking about here, not system tokens. System tokens definitely you cannot use spaces in those names. Right. So go back here, and I think I have this one open already. Let me just go and see. Not there, but probably yes. Okay. Gotta get rid of that one. So this is what, and I took a brief look at this earlier today. Oh, Mark, I didn't even notice that this was you that put this in. I didn't get to explore it other than the fact that when I saw this, we use authorize, and when I saw this, I thought, oh, there's potential here that this could be, something that's maybe affecting authorize also, but confirmed that we're not seeing any issues. So, Mark, do you want to talk about this a little bit? Have you found any solution?
No, this solution is unclear. That I allowed some time to pass because users are using the form, and I thought I'd just let the next one happen and see what it did, and it hasn't happened yet. So no, I don't know if removing the redirect after at the end of the stack made the change. Made the change meaning fix the problem. I do not know.
But this is
I
something
can report back later.
you first noticed after an update, or not even necessarily related to an update?
It's not related to that. Yeah, I
Okay.
just, this form had PayPal processing. I added Stripe and I gave him the choice, but it didn't seem to matter whether someone paid with PayPal or Stripe. The completion actions on success just weren't doing anything.
But since you removed this action, it seems to be working better.
It's unclear. Yeah, it's unclear. It's not tested.
Okay. All right. Anybody else see anything like this? Okay. Go back to.
I am 0 for 3 today.
All right. This is interesting. I checked this out earlier today too. So Dale made a couple contributions here about creating a listing that shows that pulls data from FontAwesome automatically, and so I mean, it's kind of nice. I'm not sure. I wish maybe it's in here somewhere, but Dale obviously would be able to answer more questions about it since he created it. But I'm wondering why the icon shows for some of these, but not for all of them. But his and my first thought was, because often what I do is I just open up FontAwesome and I search there. So that can, so I was wondering what the use case would be for this. And I guess if you had a setup where you were where you had administrators and you had forms for them that they use you're allowing them to create content, you could have them pick the icons dynamically without having to go to FontAwesome, and that's just let's see, he has that demoed here. So he has a button that says pick an icon, and it brings up that listing in a pop-up so that they can pick an icon, and this links directly to FontAwesome, so you can open this up and see this on the FontAwesome website. And then if I go back in and actually select coffee pot, then it records coffee pot. And if I save that, then I would have that saved. So I think it's kind of a neat idea. Anybody have any thoughts on it?
I think that's a neat idea too. I wonder if you know more details. Like, is that pulling from the free list, or do you need a subscription to get that to be fully
I
functional? Or?
suspect that it's, but I just thought, let's just check out. So it's a server request. It doesn't look that, I don't see anything here that tells me that it says it's looking just for the free ones. I would think that you could, maybe there's something in the request body that you could put in here that would show just free ones, but
Well, it's okay. I was just curious. It's
yeah,
helpful to see the preview of the icon so you can choose.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I wouldn't
So,
want to choose one that I couldn't have.
right, exactly. Yep. I wonder also. Okay, so we just have the ID and the label here. And he's just pulling in the. Oh, you know what? I bet. So he's just pulling in by ID, and I'm just going to take a wild guess here that the ones that, in fact, let's look at. Oh, I closed it. Let's look at one of these. See coffee pot. All the coffee pots are pro. So I think that answers the question about why we're seeing the icon on some of these and not on others. So let's see the mug. And mug hot is not a pro, and we are seeing the icon there. So that answers the question I asked earlier. So we're seeing the icon where they're free.
So helpful, actually.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
if you don't see an icon, we're
you know.
not going to choose that one maybe, or we
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
tempted to go get the subscription. So
right, yep. So from a personal, from my daily work perspective, I'd have to think about how I would integrate this to use it. But I could see it being useful because I often, especially so in grids, there is a pop-up where you can choose an icon, correct? But in forms, we just have the input for the value, and we don't have the ability to pick. So I could see. I wish that we did have that first, and as a feature. I wish that in form configuration we had the ability to have a pop up to select an icon. But usually what I do in that situation is I just open up the Font Awesome website and do a search and find a free one. But maybe this is somehow could be integrated onto an administrative page on my site, and I could use it somehow that way. Just trying to think through that how I could
it
use
would
it.
be about the same level of effort on your part.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to
it
go
kind of
to
would.
another page, you have to look it up, they have to get the code, bring it back.
Yeah.
Same level of effort. Yeah, I sometimes pop over to an action grid and I use it to find the icon that I want, and then I copy it over to
Oh
the
yeah, that's a
form.
good idea. That's a good idea too. That way you don't have to weed through all the other ones. The ones that you're
Hmm
seeing there are ones that are usable.
hmm
Yep, makes sense too. The one thing, the one complaint that I have about the pop-up on the action grid is that there's no search. You kind of have to just do a browser search or just scroll down through them.
Yeah, that's true. But I
Yeah,
do use the browser search all the
you use the
time.
browsers. Yep, yep. Cool. Anybody have any thoughts about this contribution that Dale made? Okay, so let's see. Go back to the presentation here. So those were the two. So let's take a look at feature requests. I think I had those open already, but I guess I closed them. Oh, here they are. Oh, well, I recognize this person here. And I've got 3 votes already. So I'll just go ahead and plug this one first since it's from me. So this was something that came to my attention a couple weeks ago. That we had a situation where we wanted to. So because I'll try to explain it a little bit more than I did in the description here, so it makes sense. A situation where we when we specify so in a listing, you can specify the names of your columns that you want to be shown on the front end. And then when you do an export, you can specify columns that you want to export. And then when you do that, you can specify the names of the columns that are going to appear in the file that when you export. The problem is that we had a column in the listing where it was available to some users and not available to other users, and based on a condition in the listing. And when you specify columns that are going to be exported, it doesn't look at a condition. And I actually had a conversation with Dale directly about this, and because I was saying I wish it would respect that condition. But the thing that Dale pointed out to me, and it makes perfect sense, is that when you specify columns to be in an export, you can invent columns that you want to put into the file, and they can be a combination of tokens. So you actually can export a column that doesn't even exist in the listing when you're specifying the columns. And so he said that's really a reason why what I was suggesting couldn't be done, and I accepted that, and that was great. But it all would have worked. But if you don't specify columns, and you just say export all the fields in the list. If it's a listing context, it does respect the conditions for the column. So if the column is being withheld, then it doesn't get exported. And that would have worked perfectly for us, except for the fact that then it uses the data source values for the columns as the column headers in the export file, and we really wanted the friendly column headers. So long explanation, but that's what this means, is that if you use the export all columns option, it would be really nice to have the when it's in a listing context, it would really be nice to have the friendly names of the columns as the headers in the an option to have the friendly names of the columns as the headers in the export file. So if you agree with me, please vote it up. Does anybody not understand what I was saying? I know it was kind of wordy.
I voted it up, Patrick.
Cool.
Yeah, I did it earlier.
Yeah, okay, I get it. Yep. All right, anybody have any questions, thoughts about that?
That's a good idea.
Alrighty. That does not seem to be working, so I'm just going to click here again. Okay, Mark, you want to tell us about this one? Or did we talk about, oh, this was a while ago. We must have talked about this already.
I have to refresh my memory what we're doing.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. So my guess is that we talked about it already.
Yeah, I wanted CSS in a grid. Yeah, so
that's
that's a pretty simple concept. In forms, we can inject CSS into it in a grid there's not a good place for that.
Mhm.
Dale's
Yeah,
solution was pretty clever. He used JavaScript to create the CSS definitions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had not thought of that. I'm surprised because I do a lot with JavaScript, but so it's useful. I think it's kind of like a little bit of a roundabout way to get it done,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get
it's
it.
the solution.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did talk about that on this call. I do remember that now. So, okay. Well,
Thanks for looking at it.
yeah. Anybody have any dark corners or ghost stories? Seems like I have them weekly, but right now I can't think of one. So Dale did suggest a ghost story here. I heard one about lost actions when converting a listing to data table. I've never seen it. I wonder, lost actions where? On buttons in the listing, I guess.
That's the only place, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I haven't heard of that either. I haven't experienced it. I don't think I've converted a listing from some other data source to a data table. I've gone the other way. I've gone from a data
Other
table
way.
to a to a SQL data source. Yep, when it becomes necessary. But I don't think I've gone to a data table. I wonder if it could have anything to do with the data source not having. I just don't see that though. I don't see why you would lose actions on a even if the conditions were based on a column that didn't exist anymore after you switched the data source. I think that the conditions would probably just error or wouldn't think you would lose the action completely. But so anyway.
Well, related to a listing, I would propose that the button alignment should default to the left instead of at the right.
Hmm.
Because so many times it's off the screen to the
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
And I would like the ability to change the default to the left because I have to change it over and over.
Yeah, and yeah, that's often something that I see is that and I do all kinds of things to try to pack as many columns in as I can without having to um, without having to
Get a scroll
ha
bar.
get a scroll bar or have the buttons fly off the page. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
doing a percent uh, percent width
Mm-hmm.
on the columns, that sort of thing. I've done all kinds of stuff in putting making sure that long text is wrapping and you all that stuff. But sometimes, yeah, it just it seems like that you want a lot of data on there, and you just can't manage to get it to where you want it, and so I can see that, but it would be a pretty big change because I think a lot of us are really used to buttons always being on the right. Anybody have any thoughts on that? If buttons were defaulted to the left, would it make you crazy? Because then you would be the one changing it all the time instead of Mark.
That would be me. I'm used to the buttons on the right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, likewise. Although I certainly could see just having some kind of setting that says where do you want your buttons, and the default for that is the right.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean the setting exists and it does default to the right. So um, just to go ahead and go and
Okay,
find
so
that.
just because there's a lot of silence going on, I'm going to ask another related question. In a listing where one of the columns has a long list of information in it, in each record, that makes the record heights very tall because of one column. What are people doing to limit the height of the columns so that maybe, I don't know, scroll bar or only view the top 2 rows or something like that so all the rows don't get real tall?
Usually for me, it's get the column out of there. That's usually for me.
Uh,
That like if
Put it
there's a
in
lot of
details.
if there's a lot of data, it's a detailed view. Yeah, that's usually what I do. Um, I have in the past applied I've done I've done lots of things. Like I've put in my SQL query, I've put a truncated uh, field in the SQL query to appear there, and then you have to to see the entire thing. So a teaser basically. I've done
Hmm.
do a truncation in my SQL query to do a teaser. I've applied CSS that gives an ellipsis after a certain number of characters. Uh, so I've done things like that, but often to me that seems like more trouble than it's worth, and just getting the column out of there is the best solution. And you have to go to a detailed view to see the whole thing.
All right, I'm doing a lot of those same things, and
Mhm.
I was just wondering if someone had already figured it out.
I have a similar use case where I've got one of the fields has a lot of data in it, but I would like it so that it's much faster than just going to a detailed view. Because I've got a long list of words that I need to scroll through and say, oh, do I need to deal with this word? And I need a mechanism that I can deal with it by seeing what that other field is without clicking it, swinging out a detail view, looking at it, closing and but the detail view, coming back to the list. Maybe some kind of a hover mechanism. Would that just be a CSS thing that I can hide a column unless I hover over another column?
Have you ever used and it's not ideal, but it does what you want there, and I've used it in several occasions. I've done other more complex things, but as a simple approach, this really works nicely to enable a field tooltip, and the tooltip content can contain tokens from the listing. So you can
Ah,
and you can combine tokens, and you can put them in the tooltip title and the tooltip content. And then you have options like the tooltip data trigger, so the tooltip can trigger on click or hover. Um, the icon is what's displayed on in the listing. So yeah, I mean, this is I've used this, and it's helpful.
yeah.
Is it ideal for every situation? No, but I think it does work in a lot of situations.
What that sounds very interesting. I hadn't considered that. What's the limitations on a tooltip? How much space can it take up on the screen if you have a very large tooltip? The reference that I'm talking about is like it could be a very long sentence that this word is in, and it's an obscure term, and I'm trying to figure out is it really that obscure? So I want to read it in context. And so I want to hover over something that then would show that sentence that the word is in. And if it's and if it's something that I should deal with, I can deal with it then just by seeing that sentence. So if it's a fairly large thing, then the tooltip will be fairly large. And are there limits?
Um, I can't remember. I've put some pretty large text into the tooltips before. I don't remember if it expands widthwise automatically or not, but certainly you could play with the CSS. So um, you could. In fact, is there's oh, it's right in front of me, and I'm not even paying attention. So you can specify the height and width here. So
Ah,
yeah,
wow. Okay.
for
That'd be
yeah
very
for
cool.
for default adjusting set to 0. That Yeah, that's funny. I was sitting there talking about it, and there it was
I'm
right
going
in
to
front.
try the tooltip. That sounds like it would be really, really efficient and fast.
I've used it a lot, and it's it is pretty easy, and it's effective. So that you can put some uh and you know what, this would actually be a really cool thing for going back to our the idea of having what Mark was asking about having if you had some teaser text, you could have a tooltip also that shows the full text, and that would be a really um nice solution for having for that situation where you have the large text being plopped into a listing without having to do a detail view.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Mark? Is that something you've
I
tried
like
also?
it. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
tried that before.
Mhm.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, I think that in some ways this feature is underused. I mean, I haven't seen it used a lot, but I know I have. Jen, I used this pretty heavily on the staff output for the World Skydiving Day. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember that or not, but I did. I used this feature there
Yep.
quite
Yep.
a bit. Cool.
I think I'd be tempted to put that call field in a detail, just throw it over to the right side or the left side. But it would take more effort to accomplish that. I like the structure of having that on the screen and scrollable, but this is a different way of handling it. I'd like to try it.
The other thing, I don't know, you probably have played with this some, but I guess it really depends on the size of the content that you're loading. But check this. Yeah, column width. That's another possibility. Is using so the wider you make your column, the less vertical space it's going to take up, right?
Yeah,
So,
just give me one of those lines for row height. That's what I want.
yeah, control the entire. Well, hey, um, don't forget about the new feature.
I think I have.
That you had forgotten about it, or that you haven't tried it. Yeah. So this is specifically for the field, but if we go to settings, where is it? Advanced UI. I can't remember where it is, but oh no, root CSS class. Maybe I'm not remembering this correctly.
What are you looking for? You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah, I'll know when I see it. So that's the oh, right. It's here. Row CSS classes. There we go. It's in the data source. I mean, in the data view option. You remember Dale actually demoed this for us, and it's pretty cool. And this is a particularly for me a little I'm a little passionate about it because I originally came up with the whole specification for it, and then they took the specification and went way beyond what I was imagining. So that's because they added it to most of the other views. You have this option also. I know specifically the calendar view has event CSS classes. So this is a really, really useful thing right here. And it's part of this same feature that they recently added. It's in 127 only, and in I think a later hotfix of 127. But this is I feel really passionate about it because I wrote up the original ticket that this was based on. But I think that right there might be your but the cool thing about this is that this also can include tokens. So the row CSS that you apply can change based on the row that you're on, based on the a token from that row.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So we could put something like a class in there that has a definition including max height.
Yeah.
I wonder if the height of the content exceeded the max height spec, if it automatically creates a scroll bar. And it was just a curiosity. Something worth trying out.
It is. Yep. Absolutely. But
Thanks for pointing that in again. I forgot that new thing was there.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to use it yet. I wish and I think there's a since Jen's here, I'm glad because that she's hearing this because we probably have opportunities to use this, but this is it's pretty powerful, and we've had so many discussions in the past, and you know, once again, I think I mentioned this when Dale talked about it the first time, but this idea for this row CSS class and these field and label CSS classes here, this idea came out of this call because of the discussions we've had about the difficulty of applying dynamic styling to listings, and we've all done things like using JavaScript and you know, all kinds of things. But this answers a lot of the things that we've a lot of the problems that we've had applying dynamic CSS to a listing, and the ideas all came out of this call. So I think that's
Yeah, I love it. I could see so useful
yeah,
the viewer, so useful.
absolutely. Well, on that positive note, we have hit the hour, so let me come back here and see if I can get this looking good here. So thank you all for joining and for carrying the discussion through the entire hour. It's been fun, and I appreciate everybody's participation. And until we meet next time with Dale as our host on December 5th, I believe is the day, happy low coding. And if you can stick around for the afterglow, please do.